my goodness. I need to turn you on because, okay, here. Do you hear me?
I hear you, yep.
Perfect. I just let you in, but I'm gonna need to compose myself. I'm fangirling big time. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, I'm gonna let everybody else in. There's people waiting. You can hear and see everything well?
Yep.
And I also wanted to ask if it was okay for me to record the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, there's more people coming on. And everybody's going to be muted so that it does not interfere with the sound.
Okay.
Yeah, they're coming in slowly. We're going to give it a few minutes.
Sounds good. I got my tea ready to go here.
Yeah, me too. Is that a Slavic thing?
Absolutely.
Sometimes when I want to be fancy, I pretend it's an English thing. All right, everybody else is coming on. And I'm gonna ask the ladies that are on for everybody to show your beautiful faces, turn on your video. That's why we're doing it on Zoom and not Instagram. So we could all see you. And we have a few states. Originally it was supposed to be from my church for our women, but so many people wanted to join. So hopefully that was okay with you as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The more the merrier.
Yes. All right. We have a few people stuck in the waiting room. We don't have, you're in Florida, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't have a time difference between Jersey and Florida.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I thought about it last.
Yeah, if I do like video or whatever, some meetings, and then somebody's in the Pacific Coast, it's a lot different.
Yeah. Sometimes I like freaked out last minute because I always thought you're in Florida, and then I'm like last minute, oh no, what if you're not? Yeah, okay, everybody's. Okay, ladies that are on, I'd love to see your faces, any face. There we are. Hi.
Hi, girls.
Awesome. Just gonna wait a few more minutes as people get on, and then we'll be starting. Hello, Nastya. Some people taking a walk. Natasha, you're always outside. I love it. She's so active. Okay, awesome. I think we can kind of start so we don't take too much of your time. And as people will be joining on, we can just put them right in. So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being here, Olga. I'm trying to keep myself composed because I'm fangirling big time. I have been following you for so long, and you have been a tremendous help for me in this journey of motherhood and wifehood, or being a wife. You've rescued me many nights. And I think if I could put my husband here, he'd give you even a better speech because he's probably way more great or additionally grateful for the meals that are on our table. And a lot of my learning to cook was definitely from you. So I want to say thank you for that. I want to say thank you that you have not only the gift that God has given you, you don't keep it just for yourself, but you allow it to bless our homes, you allow it to bless our families, our marriages. And food is such a big part of the Slavic community, of us, of our roots. Yes, that it's such a big blessing to not have to go through our mommy's recipes that we barely understand and trying to transfer measurements, but to be able to cook the food that our husbands grew up in their homes enjoying. with the recipes that we can have from you. So I want to say thank you so much, and you've been such a big blessing for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. And it just makes me so happy to hear that other people are enjoying the recipes. And I love sharing all of these things, seemingly very mundane. Hey, we have a little visitor.
Hi.
Come here. You want to say hi? Yeah, you got a little shy. Yeah, so I love sharing all of those things, cooking, home life related, and it just makes me really happy when I get that feedback. So it's my pleasure for sure.
Awesome, awesome. And I love how I feel like in the last few years you've transitioned not only from recipes but into an entire homemaking and homekeeping. And that's been something that I love to receive from you as well. I love those videos that you make about simple things that I don't think other people actually teach on, because at times it almost feels like common sense, but for someone that it doesn't come naturally to, it's not that common sense. So thank you for that, the youth transition. And that's why when I had this idea to do this topic, you're the first person that popped into my mind. And of course, never in a million years that I think that you would agree to it. But I'm so honored and so glad that you have. So we're gonna jump into the topic. I know you as a blogger, as a mom, as a wife, and as a Christian, as a believer. If you can just jump into it, tell us more, tell us about who you are, we're all moms, so we're totally cool. He can hang out with us. Tell us anything something interesting about yourself. We'd love to hear it all.
Okay, well, let's see. So my name is Olga, and like you said, I share recipes. A lot of you may know me from olgasflavorfactory.com. And I started this blog. It was actually my husband's idea. And one year I wanted to make a cookbook for my sisters and my mom to put down all of our family favorite recipes. Because you know how it is with our moms. They tell us to put in a little bit of this, a little bit of that, still na glass. And that's fine if you love to cook and you enjoy, testing things out, but the results are always going to be different. And sometimes we just want those measurements to know that, you put these certain ingredients in, you put this much of it in, and you're going to get this result that you want. So I wanted to have that. I'm the oldest in our family, and my sisters were teenagers at the time. So I thought this would be a great idea. And I went on to this mission of creating this cookbook. And I made the cookbook, and I was absolutely blown away with how much work it was. First of all, I was not used to measuring how much potatoes to add to soup or how much broth or whatever. And I also realized that it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. And so I made that book. It was much, much sooner than I had originally planned because it took so much time. And I didn't include all of our recipes in there, but I was like, whatever, this is fine for now. And then my parents were so proud of that book. They showed it to everybody. So all of a sudden I had all of these other people asking me, can you please print me up a book too? Well, first of all, lots of work to print up a book and then try to send it to wherever that person was. But another thing is that a cookbook is something you print and then you can't make any changes, you can't make any additions to it. So I was trying to figure out how to be able to share the other recipes that I wanted to include, new ones that I was trying out, without having to do another cookbook. And that's when my husband came up with this idea of creating a blog. And actually at the time, I didn't even know what a blog was. So, and I didn't have any idea how to do it. I was not I still am not very technical at all. Computers and I are not friends. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a blog, but you're going to have to do all of the techie stuff behind the scenes and take all the pictures. Then I'll do it. Well, that didn't work out either. So I had to learn all of the tech stuff, do all
Wow.
of the behind the scenes. And when I first started, I actually even like did all of the design work and all of that. Now there's actually a lot more resources available for you to do this much more simply. But back then I felt like my brains were on fire many days.
Wow.
And yeah, my photography was horrible in the beginning. I took a lot of lessons, read a ton of books, and lots of practice for many years. So that's how I started Olga's Flavor Factory.
Wow.
So, and at that time, I didn't have children yet, and for the first few years, it was just my husband and I was also working full time as a registered nurse. Right now, I'm still a registered nurse. I work part time. I work at night. So, and now I've been through this whole journey of becoming a mom. And actually, in the very beginning, we were trying to adopt children from Russia. So, the people who've been following along all these years, they got to go through all of this with us
Yeah.
and see us get certified, get our home study done. And then Russia banned all adoptions by Americans. So, we had to pivot, change direction, and we decided to do foster care. We did foster care for about a year, and then right about a year after doing that, I found out that I was pregnant. And this is 8 years after we were not able to have children. So it was
Wow.
such a huge shock. I think I was like 9 weeks pregnant by the time we figured out that I was pregnant because we just didn't expect it. And I was really sick the whole time I was pregnant, so we had to stop fostering. And then we had our son Nathaniel. A year later, we had a year later I got pregnant, and 9 months after that I had Joshua. So now we have two
Wow.
boys, and they're 3 years old and 5 years old right now. So
Wow.
we're keeping busy and just amazed that got to be parents. So it was a huge surprise.
Amazing, amazing. Praise God for that.
Yes,
Yeah, I
God
saw
is
the whole journey. That was something to follow along. And I love that's another thing about you. I love how raw you are, that you're so transparent. And there's so many people that must have walked that road and they were able to watch your testimony and just get hope and be able to see that they're not alone in that. So that's amazing to you too, as well. I just want to also throw out for the ladies, at the end, we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A with Olga. So if you guys have any questions that you wanted to ask, not about a specific recipe, let's stick to a topic, unless it's something very unique. But you can put it in the chat box and we'll get to it at the end. And also, if you're able to, you can turn on your video so we can see who's here with us, and that will make it more interactive so Olga knows who she's talking to. And now let's move on to the topic. So our topic today is creating an inviting atmosphere in your home. The rest of the time is all for you. We are attentively listening, learning. Lord, open our hearts so that we may receive this and put it into practice.
Amen. Well, I love speaking about our homes. It's one of my favorite topics, and I think it's so important also. It just sometimes may seem like it's boring and mundane, the things we do in our homes, but it actually makes such a huge impact, not only on us as people, and it really does. You go home and you spend that time in your home, and it really impacts the people that live with you in your home, whether you're still living at home with your parents or you have your own family, and you're the one that creates that home, that environment, those memories that are going to be built and created in your home. And our kids are with us for such a short amount of time. It may seem like a long time, especially when they're young and the diapers seem like they're never going to end, and then the potty training and the meals and the constant messes, but it's so short. I honestly cannot believe that my son is 5 years old. It really feels like he was just born yesterday. And I'm sure many of you guys can relate. So we are creating that home that they're going to be growing up in. They're going to take it with them to their home. And we are the ones that are having such a huge influence on how they grow up and the people that they become. And I mean, when we were in foster care, we saw what a huge thing that is. And I grew up in a great family. My husband did as well. And it was just so eye-opening to see these families that are broken and in such need. And I just specifically remember this one little boy that we had in our home, and then when we got some more information about his parents, and it was just heartbreaking to me because before I became a foster parent, I was so prejudiced and like kind of against all of the parents. But honestly, when you read their stories, I was just, my thoughts were, how would they know any better? They never had that love poured into them. They didn't have somebody teaching them how to cook, how to balance a checkbook, how to buy a car. And these families, these kids were brought up in families that they were in not that great of a family, and just goes on from generation to generation. And think about the role that you're playing as the parent, as the spouse. You're creating that home, you're creating that foundation for your children to grow up in. So it is really important, and our roles are important, and the things that we do day to day are very, very valuable. And I think that God created the woman as the life giver. Not only are we the ones that give actual life and bring human beings into the world, but we are the ones that give life to the people in our life, as in, like, we give them food and we nurture them, and we're the ones that create like a really inviting atmosphere in the home and the family. And I think most of us, obviously it's different in every family, but most of us would agree that our husbands see more of the bigger picture. And we are the ones, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom, or if you do a lot of the home care for your kids, or you stay home more, you do more of the day-to-day things. And those things may not seem as important, but they are the things that take up so much of our time. We eat every single day. We live in our homes every day. We wash that laundry to make sure our families have clean clothes to wear, and make sure when they need new shoes, we buy those shoes. And a funny thing is that I tell my husband all the time, I feel like I'm the spender in the family. I'm like constantly running through money. I'm like, you never buy anything. Like, even if he needs things, I'm usually the one that buys them. And that's how we are as women. We take care of those day-to-day things. We make sure that we have a table that we sit and eat at. We make sure that we have the food that our family eats, and lunches and dinners, and that our children have something to wear to school, that they're doing their homework. And of course, our husbands do a lot of it. I have an incredible husband. He's so supportive, and he does so much of the housework. He doesn't mind if I ask him to do a load of laundry or wash the dishes or whatever, but still, we're the ones that make sure it gets done. Even if they help out a lot, we're the ones that make sure that laundry is getting done and the house is getting cleaned. So it's a role that we play. And not only do we take care of the physical things, I think we also play a really big role in the emotional well-being of our home. And that is so important, maybe even more important than the physical stuff. So we make sure that everybody who's in our home is comfortable there. And that's kind of the definition of inviting atmosphere in your home, is when people want to be there. Do they want to come home from work? Are they excited to come home from work? Are you excited to come home from work, or are you dreading going there because it's a mess, there's nothing cooked, or you don't want to cook, there's laundry isn't done? And like, we make sure that that home is inviting. It's our sanctuary. It's where we feel comfortable. We love being there. And of course, right now that we're staying home so much, it's maybe a little too much, and we feel like the walls are closing in a little bit. But overall, we love being home. And it's such a nice feeling to I love being home, And sometimes it's those fancier dinners that you have and invite people over, or holiday meals that are more more special. But there's also something super cozy and nice about crashing on the couch and eating pizza as a family and being comfortable that way. And it's so awesome that we can create that home. And as I was mentioning earlier about like the foster families that we got to be part of, maybe you did not grow up in a family that taught you those things. Maybe you don't want a home that was like your parents. And that's the great thing about you being in charge of your home. You get to create whatever family you want. And it's so important that we live out the values that are important to us day to day. And that's why the inviting atmosphere is such a big, vital part of our lives, because the things that we do are constant. They never, ever end. And maybe that is kind of annoying when you know that you cooked all day today and tomorrow you're gonna have to cook again, because everybody ate all that food that you spent all that time cooking. You wash all that laundry, and just yesterday, I thought I did all the laundry. It was such a nice feeling that only lasted for a couple of hours, because then the kids took off their dirty clothes and the towels and whatever, and I've got more laundry. But those things that we do, they are a sum total of our life at the end. So those things that we do day to day, they add up, and that's what your life consists of. So let's talk about how to create that inviting atmosphere. So I want to talk about both the physical part of the inviting place in your home and also the emotional and spiritual side. So how do we create that place where your family, where you will feel comfortable, relaxed, like it's your sanctuary in life, and at the end of a long, hard day, you can come home and relax and feel like, this is such a gift in my life to have this home, no matter what it is, even if it's a small apartment and not the dream home that you wish you have someday, or it is that dream home that you have a renovation project scheduled in your mind already, because that's how we are as humans. Every time we achieve one level, we want to move on to the next one. So physically, I talked a little bit about like, it's the place where you're comfortable. So it should reflect you. Your home is a reflection of you. So what are some things that you value and are important to you? And this is going to be different for everybody. And fill your home with the furniture and the colors that you enjoy. So whether that's lots of colorful, vibrant pillows and furniture and flowers or whatever, or maybe you like more neutral colors. Those are really in right now. But it's not about creating a Pinterest perfect or Instagram worthy home. It's about a home that you love being in, even if nobody else sees it except you and your family. And another thing that goes into play with that is not just the furniture, but also the things that you have in your home. Like if you love to cook, you probably have more things in the kitchen than somebody who doesn't enjoy cooking. If you love to read, you probably have a lot of books. If you love photos and pictures, you probably have that in your home. Or if you don't, you probably should. So put up a picture of something that makes you happy. If you love to be outside in nature, put up pictures of beautiful scenery and landscape photos or paintings. If you love being in the city, maybe you're more of that type of person, then you may have a picture of a cafe or some kind of a beautiful scene of a city. So, have it reflect what you like to do, what you love to be a part of. And photos, put up pictures of your kids, of your family, of your parents, of the vacations that you took and you enjoy. So all of that, just looking at it around you is going to inspire you and make you happy when you see all of that. So different plants as well. So either you can have like plants that, just are green and grow, you got to water, or maybe you need fake ones. I've got some fake ones in my house too. Or buy some grocery store flowers. And a lot of them are not very expensive. And if you buy it every other week or so, it's not going to put too much of a dent in your wallet, but it's going to make you happy. If flowers make you happy, of course, maybe they don't. So spend your money on something else. But I love buying those grocery store flowers, and seeing them makes me happy. So things like that, just take that into consideration. What do you enjoy and what does your family enjoy? So maybe your husband's a musician, so maybe you have some guitars around your house. And right now, a lot of things that are in my home are things like Paw Patrol toys or Legos, because that's what my kids love to play with right now. And they love Legos. So we have Legos everywhere all the time. They play with them every single day. They love to color, so we have lots of coloring books and crayons. So it's your home and how it looks is gonna change from season to season depending on who's living in your house. And that may include lots of fingerprints and toys, but that is part of your life. And your home does not have to look like nobody lives in it. It can look lived in, but still neat and tidy. I do believe that neat and tidy is important, not necessarily everything in place and not messy at all. But when we have clutter laying around, it's scientifically proven that it creates chaos in your head too. So you're more stressed out when your surroundings are a giant mess. So of course, it's never going to be perfect. I've got toys laying around all the time, and my kids make a mess. I make a mess too, but I like to come at the end of the day and clean it up so that the next day we're starting with a fresh house and not constantly living in a mess, because that is stressful. And I bet you, if you've been through like a stage where, maybe you had babies or you were sick or something and you didn't have as much time to clean, you know how stressful it is to look around and everything is a giant mess, right? So anyway, keep it neat and tidy, create the surroundings that you want to look at and that you enjoy. Have couches that are comfortable for you. So if you like leather couches and those are good for your family, great. If you hate leather couches, then get something else that you're comfortable with. That seems kind of like common sense, but common sense is basically what we do with our homes. It's all about the day-to-day things that we do. Alrighty, so what else here?
Can I ask you, just, I don't want to interrupt your thought, but regarding, you keep saying whatever you're comfortable with, and you've said common sense, but sometimes we have the pressure to impress, especially for those who host often. Mm-hmm. Would you touch upon that, where those two collide, where things that you're comfortable with and things that impress?
Okay. So for sure, I think it's especially prevalent nowadays with social media, because like for me, for example, I'm talking to you guys right now about being comfortable. The house doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm on Instagram stories almost every day. So people see my house, and I've got, I don't remember how many followers on Instagram, like 20, 30,000, whatever. So that's a lot of people looking at my house. And if you imagine all those people going into your house, it's kind of a little bit puts pressure on you, right? Or how I look. So I've been on Instagram stories plenty of times without my makeup, with my hair not done right. My house is messy. I try to show real life, because we see that perfection everywhere all the time. And I post plenty of photography worthy pictures of food and home and whatever, but I want it to be balanced with real life and how it is in real life, And when we invite people into our home, we do feel that pressure of wanting to make sure that it's all clean and perfect. But I've said this before, when I go to visit somebody's house, I honestly never notice if their chandeliers are dusty or the baseboards aren't clean. I don't even look there. And if I did happen to look over there, I would never think badly of that person. I'd be like, well, mine are looking like that and too. So, you must be spending a lot of time with your kids and cooking, because who's got time for that? Maybe if you don't have kids and you don't have a job or something, and that's what you do, you take care of your home, you have more time for that. Like when I didn't have children, my house looked perfect almost all the time. It was just me and my husband. Now it's looking a lot different. And I'm so happy that I've got fingerprints all over my mirrors and my windows, because I have those lovely little boys that are messing them up. So we need to keep that in perspective of, if I'm constantly stressed out about what my house looks like, I'm probably going to take it out on my family. I'm going to be the mom that's always yelling, telling everybody to clean up. And who wants to live in that kind of a home? And there's a Bible verse, I wrote it down here somewhere. The wise woman built her house, but with her own hands, the foolish one tears hers down. And that's in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. So the wise woman builds up her home. And if you're constantly obsessed about what your house looks like, I'm sure you're not be doing that in a nice way, and you're just very patiently telling your children, let's all clean the house right now. And it gets passed down, that stress, and you're not able to relax. Your focus is all about cleaning, or, oh my goodness, this chair doesn't look good, we need to spend more money to buy a new one, we need new couches, we need new rugs, this is out of style. And if we're constantly thinking about that instead of focusing more on the things that really matter to you, and that's what I said about living out your values day to day, that includes what your house looks like and the furniture and how much you're spending and giving it your attention. So if your values are to spend time as a family, it's gonna kind of automatically, that's what you're gonna give more of your time to. You're gonna spend more time reading to your kids and helping them with their homework, cooking for your family to make sure they have a nutritious meal. That goes into cooking as well. Are you trying to make this impressive dinner so you can post it on Instagram stories and show people, man, I rock this mom thing, my family's eating gourmet meals all the time? No. Some days it is fun to cook something extravagant and lovely, and I absolutely love it. If you're one of the people like me that loves to cook, and time in the kitchen is something for you to be creative about, you enjoy trying new recipes, trying something super extravagant and challenging, like maybe homemade bagels or homemade croissants, or a really delicate cake that took you days to make. And that is awesome if that brings you joy, but it doesn't take away from your family, and it doesn't make you snippy and grouchy and mad and upset because you spent all this time cleaning and everybody just messed it up. And obviously, as a mother, you should be teaching your children to clean up after themselves, that they can't just leave everything laying around and you're going to be cleaning up after them. You need to teach them that they're part of a team, they're part of a family. And if they grow up in a neat home, they're going to naturally enjoy being in a neat home, and they're going to see what you do. They copy everything that we do as parents, as moms, as dads. And if they see you cleaning up, they're going to be more likely to help you clean up and to clean up after themselves. And like I mentioned earlier, I try to clean up things in the evenings, and sometimes, and of course I kind of try to get my kids to help too, but they clean up a little bit, and then when they're in bed, I finish cleaning up. And then some days, if I'm too tired or whatever, if I don't clean up, we get up in the morning and my sons will always say, "Oh, Mama, what happened? Why didn't we clean last night?" So they really notice, and they really like when it's clean, and they notice when it's not. And so it's kind of constantly a balancing act of trying to make your home neat, and so that you have clean clothes, you've got food on the table, but at the same time that you're not so obsessed with it that that's all you think about, and you're bringing that stress into your family. And you don't want your kids to associate being home and a clean home with stressed out mom yelling, mom screaming, mom just like barking orders left and right. And when you say, we're going to have company over, your kids just groan inwardly because they're like, oh no, here we go again. Or she's going to be yelling. She's going to be in a bad mood. And it's like, why would you want to have people over if it's just going to stress out your family so much and stress you out too? So yeah, there's definitely that need or desire for having a perfect house for people to come and see how beautiful everything looks, how amazing the food is that you cooked, and also at the same time making sure that it's not making you go crazy and your family to want to hide from you.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alrighty, so let's see what else. I think that another thing that we do to create that inviting home is by making things easier on yourself, by making routines and systems that will make life easier for you, so that you're not constantly cleaning, that you're not cooking every single day for hours on end. And having those routines and systems not only will make your life much easier, it will make you have more time, and it will also make your home happier too, because you're, like I said, like all of that stresses us out. And when we have those systems in place, and I'm not talking about you're living by a set schedule, hour by hour, everything has to go the way it goes, but it's just, it gives you something to fall back on. It's kind of like a foundation. You build it out. It has like this, it's like an outline, right? You have those points in place, and then you fill it in with everything else that comes your way. So obviously things are going to happen. Things are going to come up. Things will change constantly, but you have something that you fall back on, and that gives your life some structure. And most of the time, most people, even people who are free spirits and maybe don't necessarily enjoy having systems, they don't necessarily like organizing things or having a plan or whatever. Systems and routines are they can be as very loose as you want them to be, or more structured, depending on you and your family. But they really help a lot. And I think when you do have those routines and systems, it will actually give you more time for fun. It's going to give you more time and opportunities to do things that are spontaneous and exciting, and without completely disrupting your life and creating havoc and chaos when you go, and do something like take your kids to the beach for the entire day. If you have those routines and systems in place, if you do that, you're going to have an awesome time. You're going to come back home and you've had an incredible day. But if your life is constantly like spur of the moment, flying by the seat of your pants, you take the time and you go to the beach for a day, you come back, there's nothing cooked. You've got nothing thawed from the freezer. You either have to get takeout, which is great. I think takeout is awesome too. You can go out to eat or something. But if you do that every single day, you see where I'm going with this? So it's great to be able to go out to eat and get takeout and just do something where you're not cleaning at all and the house is messy, and it's fine. But when it's every single day, then that creates so much stress in your life. And when we take time to do those routines, then you're going to have more time for fun things and being able to spend more time with your family, to have more time for the things that you like to do yourself, like maybe read a book, sit down and watch a movie, have a date night with your husband, just go outside, or invite somebody over spontaneously for a cake that you just made. And you're going to be able to do that much more than if you're, like I said, constantly living by the moment, just whatever happens. And okay, let's talk about those routines and systems. So for example, one of my favorite things ever, maybe it's not my favorite thing, but like the routine that really grounds my life and really helps me is the evening routine. Not even my morning routine, it's the evening routine that makes the biggest difference. And what I do, and this is not perfect, I don't do this every day, but for the most part, I try to do this. just when the kids go to bed, my husband is the one who puts them to bed. It's their time with their daddy. They love it. And on the days that I put them to bed, it's always like, why are you doing this? Papa does this with us. So it's really cute and sweet. And I love that he does that with them, because I stay home with them during the day all the time. And even when I'm working, I work at night. So it's not much change in their life with that. So he goes and puts them to bed, and we do try to have them like clean up their toys before they go. And then while he's putting them to bed, I usually start cleaning up. So either we already put the dishes in the sink, or I start gathering everything, tidying everything up. And I don't do a major cleaning where I am like dusting things and cleaning and rearranging things and organizing. Not at all. It's just really quickly, just run through the main living areas and pick up all the stuff from the day and just put it where it belongs. So I just go through my living room, the kitchen, dining room, the bathroom real quick. And like I said, it's nothing huge. I don't take a lot of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most. And I just like pick things up. I go start putting things in the dishwasher or wash things by hand, clean up the counters. So that's what I do. And then when my husband's done, by the time he's done with them and the stories and the prayers and everything, by that time I'm almost done, or done completely, depending on how long he takes. And then either he helps me finish up or I'm done. And then I also like to just go through and just vacuum up the main areas, because if you've got little boys, you know that it's necessary every day. And if I have time, I'll mop, but that's all, like, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But that really helps me, because the next day, if I wake up and I haven't done that, I'm automatically in a bad mood. And I'm just so uninspired, unmotivated, because it's a mess. And when you wake up and everything is clean, it just immediately motivates you. It's so nice to get out into the kitchen. It's clean. There's not a ton of dishes in the sink. I can go and make myself a cup of coffee, and there we go. We started the day already on the right foot. The other thing that I like to do is just to glance through what I've got going for the next day. And first of all, I think of what am I cooking the next day? So either we've got leftovers or I need to cook something new. So in that case, I just go take out the chicken out of the freezer, and that's it. The only thing I do is think of what I'll be cooking, and if I need to take something out of the freezer, I do that. And then when the next day, I don't have to think about it anymore. It's already done. I don't have to think about it. And that eliminates so much stress from the day, because I'm not thinking about it. I don't come to 5 o'clock. Everybody's hungry. Everybody's cranky. And I don't know what to do. And when we've got so many decisions that we make throughout the day, and you just don't even want to think about what you're going to cook. And then you don't have, so everything is rock solid in the freezer, or you need to go to the store, and it's so much more stressful, right? So just by taking a minute, thinking about what I'll cook, just take it out. That's it. It took me 2 minutes to think about it, take it out of the freezer, I'm done. And I also, now there's not really much going on in our lives with this whole quarantine, but in normal life, I'll look and see, like, do we have appointments tomorrow? Do I need to go somewhere? Does my son have school? Does he need to bring something for show and tell, or I need to bring a snack or whatever? And just kind of make sure I don't forget that I have a doctor's appointment, because if you don't look on your calendar, you may forget that, right? And just like anything you've got going on, like, do you need to bring something in for work, or do you need to remember to do this or bring in something or whatever? And just taking a few minutes, look through your calendar, see if you can get something set up. And on days when I know that we're going to need to get up early, or we have a lot going on, I will even go ahead and like pick out the clothes that I'm going to be wearing, pick out the clothes for the kids. This really helps for Sunday morning. So if you do that on Saturday night, it'll be such a big help. And that way, the next morning when you're running around, you can't find clean socks, or the shoes are missing, or, oh, I don't look good in any of this. And you're just standing there and you can't figure out what to wear. And that way, like, I don't do this hardly ever unless we've got like, you know, we need to be somewhere earlier, we've got a really packed day. And that eliminates so much of that rush and that feeling of, oh, I'm behind, I'm not, I don't know, like, and then like you don't have time to eat, you're just rushing around, you're running late, and then like you're in a bad mood, everything is against you, you're driving and all the lights are turning red. And if you were on time, you wouldn't even have noticed. You'd be like, oh, look at these beautiful palm trees, the water next to me. When you're in a rush, nothing, you don't notice all of that. And you're just like, you think all the drivers are just against you. Everybody's driving too slow or too fast. And it just puts us in a whole different mindset. So just by taking a few moments to think of what you're going to be doing, to plan a little bit, and it will just eliminate so much stress and cause your whole day to have a different tone. And that only takes a few minutes. So something like that is so helpful for me. And if you've never tried it, try it out and see how it, you know, if it'll make a difference for you in your life. And just certain things like that. For example, I said meal planning, meal prepping, that really helps me because then it like eliminates those little stresses in life. And, or at least helps you to, even if it doesn't eliminate it completely and you still do have to cook, but at least you don't have to spend that time figuring out what it is and what you don't have. And then you start cooking and you figure out, oh, whoops, this was supposed to go overnight in the fridge or whatever. So things like that really make a difference, even though it doesn't seem like it will.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about meal planning. I know that if someone doesn't know, they can go on your YouTube channel and you have a whole video on that, I believe, because I've watched it many times. And I know that at some of our mommy groups, we talk about that all the time, how that is so ideal to do, but
Yes.
so hard to get into a habit of doing. Is there like one practical tip that can like kick us like into a mode where we would be for sure? Because even some of the ladies in our church that do it, they speak that it changes everything. And I've tried it many times, but the minute that you stop doing it for like a day or two or like a week or two, it's so hard to get back into the habit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's meal planning for me is kind of the same as getting a gym membership. So getting a gym membership and having a workout routine, it's awesome, but you still have to go. You still have to work out. And meal planning is just like that. It's awesome. It works. It really makes a huge difference in your life when you do it, but you still have to do it. So, and what motivates me the most is I've done it and I know what a difference it will make for me. If I want my week, and especially if I have like a crazy week coming up and I've got like, I'm working a ton of nights, I have some projects due with my website, maybe we have people visiting from out of town or something, I've got a lot going on, then it makes the biggest difference ever if I meal plan. And if not, I just know that I'm going to be stressed out that whole week even more. We're going to end up eating who knows what, probably not very healthy. We're going to blow our budget like crazy. We're going to spend so much money on food. We're probably going to be going to the store almost every single day to pick up this and that, wasting so much money, wasting food. We're going to end up throwing a lot of it out. So all of those things are not how I want to live. And sure, there's weeks like that. Everybody has them. I have them myself plenty of times. But knowing what a difference it will make and how my life will be so much smoother is motivating to do it. And I think the other thing about meal planning is that you have to keep it simple. The more complicated you make it, the more unlikely you are to follow through with it. If you know that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to sit here for an hour and a half and plan things, and it's just something you're not going to do because you're going to dread it so much. But if you do it very simply, take just 15 minutes max, just 15 minutes, sit down, write 5 meals for that week that you're going to cook. Keep it as simple as possible. Then you're more likely to actually buy those ingredients, cook them, because it's not this whole complicated thing that you have to do. And so just keeping it simple. Another thing is that helps me, for example, maybe it will help you too, is write down your master grocery list, is what I call it. Write down the things that you buy every single week, or whenever you go grocery shopping, every 2 weeks or whatever. You buy some things you buy once a month. Sometimes you buy it only for a certain recipe, but there's things that you buy every single week. Write down those things. You will never have to. And when you take that time, it's going to take some time to figure out. Notice the things that you're buying week after week. You go after vacation, what are the things that you buy when your fridge is empty? And if you have that list, that's another thing. Like, even if you don't meal plan, you go to the store, you buy the things on that list, and you go home and you know you're going to have enough meals to last your family for that week. And that's one less thing you have to think about. So on those hectic weeks, when it's crazy, when you didn't meal plan, you just grab that list, buy those things, and it'll eliminate something you don't have to think about.
That's so practical. Thank you.
Yeah, it's something that I did. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but then when I made it, it's amazing. It's really awesome. Yeah. So, routines and systems are important, but it's also important to include some fun in your life and be spontaneous. So, like I said, I do think that they will help you to have more time for those things and be able to spend time as a family, do fun things, and to, even in the midst of like boring stuff that you do every day, do include things and maybe like do them a little bit differently. Like, for example, right now we're all staying home so much and we're just eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. One morning, instead of sitting at the kitchen table, maybe put a blanket in your living room and have a picnic breakfast. And that is so much fun and not very difficult. All you got to do is get a blanket, or maybe just sit on the rug. If you have little kids, that may be an issue, filling stuff. But just little things like that, where you come up with spontaneous things and do things differently, just make your day something different. And when we do something different, it's like it makes it so much more fun. You look forward to each day because you're gonna have those things that you enjoy, and include those things in your life that make you happy just because they make you happy. Like sitting down and having a cup of tea and reading a book, or watching your favorite YouTuber, or chatting with your sister on the phone, or doing Zoom calls with your family. I don't know, like include those things so that you're not constantly just doing drudgery and boring stuff. Don't cook every single day. I talk about this all the time. You're gonna burn out so fast if you cook every single day, especially if you cook from scratch and it takes you hours and hours to prep everything. You're gonna burn out. You need to have those days when you don't have to cook anything, and when you don't have like so much time that you're spending on cleaning and cooking and laundry, but that you have time to do other things and maybe work on some fun projects, or do things that you enjoy that make you happy. Like maybe you're a scrapbooker, or maybe you like to bake. And if you're constantly submerged in those routine things that you're doing over and over again, it's gonna not make your home inviting after a while. You're just going to be like, I'm so sick of this house. I'm so sick of doing these things. And the thing is, you don't get that satisfaction of job well done, awesome. And then a lot of times it's so unappreciated too. Like when I think about myself as a registered nurse, and I'm in the hospital helping people who are having strokes and brain aneurysms, and calling to get somebody helicoptered over to another hospital, and then I feel good about myself. And it feels like I'm doing an important job. But when I just washed the dishes and made some soup, it kind of doesn't feel that important. And when you're just doing those things and maybe nobody even appreciates it and says, thank you for cooking this meal. And you just stood in the kitchen for 2 hours cooking, you sat down at the table and you look and you're like, oh boy, we ate everything. And I just spent 3 hours standing there. And now I have to wash the dishes too. So it's not motivating sometimes because we don't have that complete the bow on top of the present, you know, that makes it like, yeah, that was awesome, I finished this. Or like when you do a remodeling project and you finish it and you look at your work and you're like, this is great. It's never ever done with the things that we do in our home. And we need to make those things more fun so we don't dread them so much. So first of all, making it easier on ourselves with meal plans, with routines, but also making those things more fun. So listen to your favorite book on audio. I love audiobooks. If you're not into books, maybe you like watching movies, turn on a movie and sit there and peel potatoes while you're doing it, or fold the laundry while you're listening to some music, and maybe have like maybe your spouse can help you and you're both doing it together. It's faster. So make those tasks more enjoyable, and it's different for everybody. So figure out what it is that you want it to be for you and make it more fun. And let's see. And also, don't be a martyr and feel like, oh, I'm doing this all by myself, nobody ever helps me. Make your family help you. You should not be doing everything yourself. You need to delegate, you need to ask for help, because you're not the only one living in that house. And if your family refuses to eat leftovers, then you can say, there you go, my dear, you're cooking tomorrow and making us a fresh dinner that you're going to enjoy so much. And I'm going to enjoy not having to cook, 5 days in a row again. So ask for help, teach your children to cook, teach your children to clean. And it's an important life task. They need to grow up, and then they're going to go out into the world and live in their own homes. So they need you to teach them to do it. And even if they're not going to do it that well in the beginning, they still will be able to learn that and be functioning members of society, not helpless and having to call mommy to come and do their laundry for them. So then lastly, I just wanted to touch on the emotional and like the spiritual side of things. We can't pass on to our children something that we don't have ourselves. So if you want your children to be good Christians, to have a relationship with God, you can't pass it on to them if you don't have it yourself. You can't teach them how to go through life and go through hard things in life and to make important decisions in life if you don't ask God for wisdom yourself. And we're so blessed, because if you're a Christian and if you have the Holy Spirit in you, He will guide you. He will give you the answers. He's going to renew your spirit so that even when you're burnt out and you're exhausted from your day-to-day work and the, just tiredness of having to take care of a family all the time, He will give you strength. He's going to give you joy. He's going to give you peace, and He's going to give you wisdom to go through every season, all the different seasons that we go through in our lives. And when we take that time to renew our souls with God's word, and when we take the time to spend time with God, and as moms, especially when we have young kids, I think we don't have as much time because the kids wake up early, and just we're tired, and there seems like so many more things that we need to do, but it's so important. And at first, when my kids were really young, I'm like, oh, I need to get up earlier and sit here and have like this whole like hour of devotions, whatever. And I realized that almost never happens. And now I'm fine with sitting here at the table, reading my Bible. The kids are running around. Sometimes they'll come join me. I'll read them something real quick. We'll pray together. And it's chaotic and crazy. And it may not be perfect. And I'm not sitting there making notes and having like this very spiritual thing. But it's very, very spiritual, even though it's chaotic. And they also need to see that mom and dad have a relationship with God, that they think it's important to read the Bible, that it gives them strength. And when mom reads the Bible, she's a different mom because she's happy and she's joyful. Turn on the Christian music so your home is filled with that beautiful sound of other people praising God, and your kids are praising God with you, and they're learning those amazing, amazing truths of God's word and how we worship Him as a family. And that makes that home so much more inviting than anything else. When we have God's grace and God's spirit in our home, and he fills our home, he fills us as moms, as parents, as spouses, and we're so much nicer to each other. And we speak words of life into our kids and words of wisdom when we draw that wisdom and that strength from God ourselves.
Wow.
So I don't know, do you want to start doing
I love
questions?
that. I love that. Thank you so much. I love how that's what we wrap it up with, is because you can follow all your tips, but if you're not right with the Lord, or at least if you don't intentionally try to spend time with him daily, then the mess happens everywhere, in your home, in your mind, everywhere. So I love that you wrap that up with that. We'll go into questions. If any of you have questions, throw them into the chat. I'll start some here, and then we'll go in here, and then we'll wrap up. So the first one is, why do you think there is a connection with women getting mad and cleaning? There's those phrases that as soon as she's angry, the house is sparkling clean. And I know by myself, I'm not naturally like, I don't get I don't relax cleaning. That's not something that comes naturally to me. It's something that's work for me. But when I get upset, I can clean the house in record minutes. Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, I think cleaning is that job that never gets done, and even when you finish cleaning, it's gonna be messy soon. So that's why it kind of upsets us and stresses us out when the house is messy. So, and then like you said, when you are upset, it's a quick gratification that you get right away. You're upset, you start cleaning, and you see things getting into place. It's so satisfying to see that cluttered up table, and you clean it up, and the dishes are not on the counter, and the counters are clearing up, and it's satisfying to us. And like when we're upset, that I think it helps us to, like, first of all, we're doing something. A lot of people, it helps them. Like if they're stressed out, they start walking, pacing, or doing something, or eating something. So cleaning is that way for a lot of people, is like when they're upset, they start putting things to right. So we get that instant gratification of, this is out of place. You moved it in place and it looks better, and it like, de-stresses you a little bit. So I think that has something to do with it.
Very interesting. Okay, another one. What advice or ideas, techniques on preparing food for a wife that also works and comes home almost at the same time as her husband? How would she go about cooking and food planning to have a meal on the table even after working all day?
Okay, so for that, I think a huge thing is meal prepping or cooking very simple things. So you could prep something the night before, just come from home from work and throw it into the oven. So when I work 12-hour shifts. And especially when I used to work full time, I would be working 3 nights in a row, and you come home at 7, you end your shift at 7 in the morning, then I have to go to work, start work at 7 at night. So that doesn't give you a lot of time to prep something, cook something from scratch. So a lot of times what I would do is I would cook something. So if you work every single day, then cook something on the weekends, like more time consuming things, and that you can reheat well, and that they do well as leftovers. Some things are not very good as leftovers at all, and other things are just as great when they're leftover as when you made them the first time. And I would make those kind of things like cagliati, meatballs, soup, things like that. They reheat really well. So I would take the time when I wasn't working, cook them up, and then when I was working, we would reheat them. But of course, if you work every single day, you're not going to be eating one big pot of borscht all week. Everybody's going to be sick of it. So what I do in that case is cook something very, very easy that takes like half an hour. There's so many terrific recipes that don't take long at all. But the biggest thing of all is meal prepping. So that is what I'm such a huge, huge proponent of. And I've got several videos on my website where I talk about the things you can prep in advance. And that includes like making a meal plan for that week and chopping up some of your vegetables, washing things. And then when you're actually cooking that meal, it is like a cinch, and it comes together so quickly because you already grated the potatoes, you peeled and cut the carrots, you whatever, all of those things you already did. And the most amount of time that cooking takes is all of the prep work. When you're actually cooking, it doesn't take that long. And if you're like putting something into the oven, you just stick it in and you're free. And you can just make up a salad really quickly. So most of the time consuming part of cooking are the chopping, the peeling, the grating, the washing. And there's so many dishes that come because you're taking out all of these things that you need to prep that food. If you take an hour once a week and you prep things, you chop things, and then the rest of the week, it's going to be so fast. You're going to have so much less dishes, and it's going to be so much easier on you because you don't have to think about it. It's a lot of it is already done. And then the other thing I get asked all the time is, I make a meal plan, but then I don't feel like eating it the day that I'm going to be eating it, or I meal prepped all this stuff, but then I don't feel like galupsi that day. So what do? The thing is that a lot of the stuff that you prep is you're not actually putting together an entire meal. You're putting together parts of the meal. And almost every single thing, if you grate carrots, you can use them in so many different ways, not just whatever it is that you had planned. And if you prepped it, it's going to save you so much time, and you could still use it in something else that you do feel like making.
Sorry, that was muted. Okay, another question. How do you not feel guilty asking your husband for help, especially after he's worked a full day too?
Because he's your husband and you're a team, and it's not all on you. So I mean, I get it, because I feel bad sometimes because my husband works a full day. He comes home and I know that he's tired. But one thing that you have to remember is that you're a team, and it's not a one-person show that does everything. We do things together. And if you're tired and you really need help, you need to ask for that help. And it's only going to make your marriage stronger. Your husband is going to feel good that you asked him for help, that you need him, and that you appreciate his help. And another thing my husband always tells me is like, oh, I say to him, like, oh, I feel bad asking you to do this after you've already worked all day. And he says, it's a different type of work. The stuff that he was doing at his work and then helping me make dinner or watching the kids is different. And like for him, watching the kids is relaxing and fun. He didn't see them all day. He misses them. And if he's helping me in the kitchen, he enjoys that. So like, you shouldn't feel guilty at all. He's your husband. So you guys do things together. And if he asks you for help for something, I'm sure you would love to help him. And I love if my husband asks me for something, even if he asks me to cook something, like, oh, can you make nalisniki? He loves them. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy making it because it's something he wanted me to do. Or if he asked me to email him something, or it makes me happy that I am able to help him out with something. So it's the same for your husband. And I really truly believe that it will make your marriage better if you ask him for help. Now, obviously, not manipulate him, not guilt him into it, but in a healthy way, it's going to be a positive.
Would you say that the tone that we ask plays a big role? Because sometimes men don't notice that something needs to get done, and in my head I'm like, I mean, it's right there, so why do you need to be asked? And I think that sometimes my tone can aggravate him more than asking him
to
actually do it.
For sure. I mean, the tone is so important in everything. It's such a huge part of the inviting home is the tone that we speak to our family members. And I also have to remind myself that my husband is not a mind reader. And just like you, I'm always like, how can you not see that I'm like losing my mind here? I need help. Like, you should just step in and know exactly what to do. It's so obvious. It is not obvious. They see things a totally different way. And you just need to voice what you need help with. You need to like just say it, and not like in a nagging way, or like, won't you help me already? Or like, oh, I'm just doing here everything all by myself. Nobody ever helps me. What am I, like the slave of this family? And if we're like aggravated and annoyed, then of course they're not going to want to help us. And they're going to be like, oh, she's in one of her moods again. Here we go. Just like, let's do this so she doesn't like lose her mind completely. And it totally matters how we address it. And we have to, like, one thing that I have to remind myself is my husband is not like against me. He's not trying to get on my nerves. He's not trying to like not help me. He probably just doesn't see it. He doesn't realize it. And if I would just ask him, he'd be more than happy to do it. And if I don't say it and I'm just like seething inside and just like setting up all of those things in my mind, like he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he forgot this. It's honestly, for me, like, my husband is awesome, but he is not very like spontaneous. He doesn't like do this amazing date night and create this experience for me. If I want to go on a date, I need to kind of like make all the arrangements and make it happen, or tell him like, let's go on a date. And it's like, oh, it's not as romantic, it's not as fun. I wish he would just be like, that's it, pack your bags, we're going on a trip. Or like that's it, tonight I'm taking you out, I got a babysitter. And he did that once for our anniversary. But it doesn't ever like happen on a regular basis. And I could be upset about it and just like have all these things in my mind and my heart that I'm like mad at him because he doesn't do those things. And then one day I'll just like finally explode and let him know, like, you don't love me, you don't do anything romantic, you should treat me as a woman. If I would just say like, honey, I think we need to go on a date, let's go on a date, would you mind like finding a nice restaurant? Or like, can you call your brother and ask him if they can babysit the boys or something? If I would just ask that, I wouldn't be upset. We would go on a date, we would have a great time, and he would be more than happy to do it. But if I just like leave it up to him to be like, oh, let me help you, that may not happen. Not because he's a terrible man and he doesn't appreciate you. It's just it doesn't come naturally to him. Maybe he doesn't actually see that you need that help. And if you would just say, can you please help me with these dishes? He would be like, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. We have a few single girls with us here also. What advice would you give them for how they can prepare to be a good housekeeper, or create an inviting atmosphere in their own home once they do get married and have that home?
Well, I think it's important to, first of all, as I talked about before, like, so many things of creating that home are not even the physical stuff. So work on yourself as a person. Like, are you a great, like, maybe you can host people in your home, like invite people over for dinner, and then you're working on those skills of like sharing your home with others, and not just when you're married. You're single now, and you can still do that right now. If you're living with your parents, you can create that with your family, with your parents, and you're not going to magically become this new person when you get married. You're still going to be you. So if you want your home to be somewhere where you have nutritious meals, start practicing and making those nutritious recipes right now. If you want to make sure that you in your home, your husband, your kids have clean clothes, make sure you're doing your own laundry right now, and you know how to do it, and you don't have to learn it when you get married. And all of these skills are not something special that only married ladies get to do. All of these tasks are things that everybody does. And unless you're living with your parents and your mom is doing everything for you, stop that. You can help your mom. And you should be doing that already. So it's not something special besides like having a relationship and being a mother. That's going to be, you know, a different part of you, but you're still going to be the same person, and you're still going to have the same needs as you do now for clean clothes and a clean environment and an inviting home. Invite people into your house, have parties, and maybe offer to babysit for people that you know that have kids, and you're practicing, but at the same time it's just part of your life, and it's not something special, but it's something that you can just get better and better at with time.
Awesome. That's so practical. Like, we can turn this off and you can get to work. I love it. Next question is, what are your suggestions for the days of when you're on your menstrual cycle and everything seems to make you upset or easily angry? Do you warn your husband, or have you learned to control those hormones that seem to come out of nowhere?
Yeah, that's a good one. One thing I've learned is to keep my mouth closed a lot more. And I bet you can see that yourself. Like, a lot of times I'm like, what is wrong with me? I'm like mad, so mad about something. And it seems such a big deal. But I know realistically, like if I'm like looking at it through the mind of a sane person, it's like so out of control. So I've learned to like, at least, and at the moment you're like, I am not PMSing at all. These are not hormones. I really feel this way. Like, I really truly feel this way. And sometimes the things that you talk about or like that upset you are really, they are legitimate things. But it's probably not the right time to bring them up, because it's just, we are more hormonal. And so either try not to get into it like extensively, or maybe be more alone spend more time by yourself. And I don't know, just don't plan on any heart-to-heart moments of straightening something out, or letting your husband know all of your deep emotional needs at that moment, because usually it just doesn't work unless you're some amazing human being that can control yourself. I think it does help you to know that yourself. I personally have like an app on my phone where I track that, so I kind of know that it's coming, so I'm extra aware of it. And my husband probably can tell too, but then that makes me even more mad when he's like, are you, you know, like, how
Is it
dare
that
you
time of the month? Yeah.
So yeah, it does help to be aware of it, so you're more cautious, and you maybe realize that maybe this seems like such a big deal right now, maybe it isn't. So let's wait to get into this whole conversation a few days later. And if it really is a big deal, then you'll still feel that way a few days later. And if not, you'll be like, that was so dumb. I'm so glad I didn't like let loose and create all these issues. And it's just, you're going to regret it later.
Probably 99.9% of the time. Yeah. Okay, so my last question, I don't see any more in here. If you guys have any, you can throw it in last minute. But the last one that I have that came in earlier is, does housekeeping play a role in our identity as a woman? Or is it something that some women are just good at and enjoy, and others are better at other things? That's a little deep, but we can end it with that.
I do think that it comes more naturally to some people and not as naturally to other people. But no matter what you are, what type of person you are, what type of personality you have, we all still are homemakers, because we all have homes, no matter what your situation, like whether you're a career woman, whether you have kids or you don't, whether you're single or not, you still take care of a home. So it is, and it's going to look so different for everybody. So if it does give you joy to be in the kitchen, if it makes you happy to clean, I don't understand this, but some people enjoy cleaning. So maybe it makes you happy to clean. but maybe those things, you don't enjoy those things. And there's plenty of things about homemaking I don't naturally enjoy, but I do it because it needs to be done. And I enjoy a clean house. I don't enjoy cleaning, but I enjoy a clean house. So you need to get it done, even though it's not something you naturally enjoy. And maybe you're terrific as, I don't know, maybe you have a business, or you're a doctor, or you have something else that you enjoy much more than homemaking. And same thing as cooking. Not everybody enjoys cooking, but we can make, your attitude towards it is going to make a big difference. And if you don't enjoy those things naturally, that means you're not going to be making a 7-layer cake. And it means that, and that is totally fine. You can make something super easy, or you can buy something from the store. And it's really cool if you know an awesome bakery in your town where you can go and get a really good cake, and you can invite people over and have an awesome cake that you bought from the bakery. There is nothing wrong with that. But you still need to make sure your family is fed. And unless you're rich enough to be able to afford a live-in cook, or somebody who delivers meals to you all the time, it's not really in the budget and not really realistic for most of us. So even if you hate cooking, you're probably still going to have to do it. Even if you hate doing the laundry and you can't stand cleaning, and cleaning stresses you out, you're still going to have to do it. So yes, there's some people that it comes more naturally to them, but we all still have to do them. And we can all find a way to make those things not as detestable, not something we dread completely. And I think our attitude does matter in this case, because you can look at it and be like completely mad that you have to do this, or you can look at it as, I'm grateful that I have these people in my life to take care of. I'm so grateful that I have the ability to eat. Not everybody has that. And that you're healthy enough to do that. And just like, I mean, it sounds cheesy and corny, but it really makes a huge difference. And you have a house to clean. You've got this beautiful home, or whatever it is. Maybe it's not huge and beautiful, and maybe it's not the home of your dreams, but it is a place where it's your safe haven. It's somewhere you go to relax at the end of the day. And we all create that no matter what. Even if you spend all of your days in your home and you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're a single gal, or you're somebody that is much more passionate about building a business and you're awesome at it and you rock at it. And you shouldn't try to make yourself into somebody you're not. Maybe God made you to be somebody else and to be more, to do something else, not homemaking as a career. And that is totally fine. And that is awesome, because we need those incredible women out there doing those things. And I don't think everybody is made to be a homeschooling mother who just cooks from scratch every single day. But don't feel bad about it if that's you, and enjoy it, and love your family, and share that gift with them. But if it's not you, you're probably going to be a really cranky mom if you try to make yourself a homeschooling mom, and instead you would probably be an incredible doctor who would be saving lives, and who would be probably a better mom if she delegates somebody else to maybe come in and clean her house, and she takes care of her patients, and then she comes home and she can give that attention to her kids. Like I said, if your family is not suffering because of your choices to make, to realize yourself in this world, if your family isn't suffering for that, then that's awesome. And God created you the way he created you. He gave you those gifts, the talents that he gave you. And if that does not include you making bread from scratch and making meals for 3 hours in the kitchen, then that's great. You go ahead and buy the cake from the bakery, make something really easy for your family, and at least your family will have a happy, joyful mother instead of somebody who complains and whines and is just stressed out all the time.
I love that. The two words that are jumping at me is perspective and process from what you're saying. Sometimes we just need to look at the perspective of thank God for those dishes, because that means I have somebody that ate exactly like you said. And then the process, we all like clean homes. Please raise your hand if you love a messy home. Everybody loves a clean home, but it's that process. Sometimes if we don't, if we are not look doing that process, if we're not going through it properly, by the time we get to the end result of what we want, we're exhausted and we don't want it anymore. So I think that the way that you're saying, if we have the correct perspective during the process, then we'll always get to the end result that we love and we enjoy. So I thank you so much for being with us. Those tips are so practical. I'm so glad I recorded this, because I'll be rewatching it and just putting it into practice. Everything was so great. I know some things could have been maybe I knew, but it's so good to hear the foundation of why we need to do those things or how we need to do those things. So I'm pretty sure I don't speak just for myself when I say thank you so much for sharing your heart. You definitely live this out from the way that you speak about it, the passion that you have for it. So that's really awesome. That's the best people I love to learn from, is people that model it well, and that's what you do. So praise God for you. I'd like to end, if you have something to say, you can end it on that, and then we'll pray and we'll finish off.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who joined in and asked your questions. I think that it's so awesome when people join in live. It makes it so much more fun. So thank you for being here.
Awesome. And everybody's saying thank you on the side here in the chat. I don't know if you see it, but thank you again. We'll be visiting your blog. I'll be there tomorrow night. I have a recipe planned. And I don't believe you have a book out. You don't, right? Yeah. I hope you get there, because I'd love my hands on one of those. So, all right, let's pray. Everybody just thank the Lord for Olga, for her ministry. And I take this Olga's Flavor Factory. That's a ministry in its own. And I bless you. I bless your family, your children, and everything that you share. May it bring so much fruit. Let's pray. Father, we bless you so much. We thank you that we had this wonderful time together with Sister Olga. Thank you that we could be on different sides of America, God, but that we can join in spirit, Lord, because we are one in you. Father, thank you for these tips that she was able to share with us, Lord. We want to be those wives that bring you glory with the way that we make our homes, that we build our homes, that we build our marriages. Father, and for those that are single or divorced that are here with us, Father, I pray that the words that were spoken, they would comfort them, Lord, knowing that the what they invest into daily would bring fruit, Lord. I pray that you would never forsake, as you said in your word, that you never forsake or leave us, Lord. Let us never feel that we are alone in this, that this is work that is not important, Father, but let us continue to know that it's valued in your eyes, that feeding those that you have given us is valued in your eyes, that making an inviting atmosphere in our home is valued in your eyes, Lord. You said to be faithful in the small, and this is where it starts, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for Sister Olga, Father. I pray that you would continue to bless her family, bless her children, Lord, that you would provide for all of her needs, that they would never lack anything, Lord, that you would bless them all around, Father, and that you would be glorified, continue to be glorified through their life. In your name we pray. Thank you for this time we had together. Amen. Amen. All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Olga, again. It was such a pleasure to meet you. If anybody wants to show their faces to a celebrity, you can still have a few seconds.
Hey guys.
Thank you, Olga.
You're welcome.
There's all your fans here.
Yeah, it's so good to see your faces.
Yeah, it was just black boxes before this. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time again. May the Lord bless you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.